I want to talk today about something more general in principle. That is that politics shouldn't be a career. It should be something that one does after having some success in life, in the private sector. I firmly believe that. But what usually happens, you have someone that they go to law school, then they work for the U.S. Attorney's Office or in academia, and then they run for some local office. Maybe they'll run for Congress after that, and then the Senate, and then, well, if they're one of the lucky ones, they're going to be a president, or maybe hold some other cabinet office, something like that. But you know, when you're in that position your whole life, a couple things happen. When you're in government, you I believe you lose touch with what's really happening, what reality is. It's like I did some work for a while I won't give the person's name, but they were a pretty well-known singer and pretty well-known now. And I've known a few other very famous people, and you get isolated. It's hard to have real friends when you're a big celebrity. You don't know if you can trust people. And I think something similar happens when you have a position of power. And believe me, even though there's not a lot of money directly in politics, there's ways to make money, as we can see, because so many politicians wind up worth millions and millions of dollars. And the power and the perks, well, there's a certain kind of person that's attracted to power. And that kind of person is not a good person. And even if they start out being good, it does corrupt them. Power corrupts. I don't know if you've read the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings. There's this humble hobbit, really hobbits are very simple folk. They like their gardens, they like having a good smoke and maybe drinking a pint of beer at the pub. And so Frodo discovers this, he gets this ring that Bilbo Baggins hands off to him. And it's a ring of power. And it makes you invisible, and it gives you all these other powers, but it corrupts you. And Frodo's task is to carry this magic ring to Mount Moriah, where it was forged, and throw it into the lava, and it will be destroyed because it's so corrupting. At the end of the story, Frodo is right there, but he can't bear to get rid of it. It takes control of him. And the only way the ring is destroyed is Gollum, a former owner of the ring, bites his finger off, and dancing with it, he falls into the lava. So, on that note, a lot of people have said that if you look at a lot of even CNN and other mainstream outlets are talking about, maybe look at Joe Biden, all these bad things he's doing, and that's a signal from the Democratic Party operatives, people who control the party. They kind of want him to go. And there's speculation that he's going to resign. I'll tell you, he's not going to resign. He's not going to give up that ring of power. Maybe Kamala Harris will bite his finger off or something like that, but he worked for decades to become president, and he got to that position. He's not giving it up, not for anything. On that note, let's talk about integrity, because one of the things I stand for, and I'm going to be plain speaking the truth to you, and I may not always concur with my party, but the Democrats are supposed to be this party, really good people and anti-corruption, but when it comes to they don't usually, or let's say rarely, do anything unless it's so obvious they can't get around it. Let's look at what happened in Ukraine, because after Obama was president, he appointed Joe Biden, his vice president, to be the special delegate to take care of Ukraine. And at about that time, this oil and gas firm called Burisma hired Hunter Biden to be on the board of directors. I think he was paid $80,000 a month. And his business partner testified. Devin Archer said, well, the reason why they hired him was they wanted Joe Biden's help and influence. And Hunter Biden himself said he would never have been appointed to that board of directors unless he was Joe Biden's son. Well, I think it was, I don't see the date right here. Yeah, Joe Biden was to visit Ukraine in December 2015 for the purpose of checking in on them and giving them this $1 billion loan guarantee. That would mean Ukraine would get $1 billion, which it desperately needed. And I think it was December 4th, there was a Burisma board meeting. Hunter Biden was there, and two of the executives told Hunter Biden, look, we're having some problems with the Ukrainian government. They're giving pressure on us. We're being investigated. So we need to call your father. And we don't know the contents of the call, but Hunter Biden did call his father that day. The problem was that the Ukrainian prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, was investigating Burisma for bribery and other corrupt acts. And I can tell you from my doing business in Ukraine, once you get above a certain minimal level of doing business, corruption, there's just a fact, it's there. It's almost, you can't do business without corruption. Anyway, and this is on video, Joe Biden is there in Ukraine, in Kyiv, and he says, hey, you know, you haven't filed, I asked you to fire this prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, you haven't done it. And I'm leaving in 6 hours, unless he's fired, you're not getting the money. And he boasted about that. And so, guess what? They fired Viktor Shokin. And this is all backed up by that there was a tie. It was done because of Biden's influence to protect Burisma. This is the testimony of a trusted FBI informant that the FBI has got the information. There's a later phone call between Poroshenko, the president of Ukraine, and Biden, where Poroshenko says, yeah, we fired the guy, but he was doing nothing wrong. And Biden said, well, I want to make sure you appoint the new guy and then you get the money. Nobody has disputed that these things are accurate, okay? So it seems kind of beyond a reasonable doubt at this point that Joe Biden used his power in order to help enrich his family, at least his son. Now, I don't know if that's illegal. I'm not going to opine on that, on all the statutes, but in the federal code. But it's definitely evidence of dishonesty. But the Democrats haven't said anything about that at all. No one has come forth. No national Democratic figure has come forth to condemn that. And they know Joe Biden's been. He's been bought his whole career. He's from the state of Delaware. That's where what he represented. Delaware has got a lot of banks. One of the big banks was MBNA America. And while U.S. Senator, he pushed to have the bankruptcy code changed so it'd be harder to discharge your debt when you went in bankruptcy if the debt was from a credit card company. Hunter Biden worked for years for MBNA as a lawyer. How did he get that job? He wouldn't have got that job if his father had not been the senator from Delaware. Like I said, I thought the Democratic Party had integrity, but no. And the problem you have is you have, and I think you'll have the same perception I do. Politicians lie all the time. They'll say anything that they need to say, regardless of its truth. I mean, for years, while Adam Schiff was chair of the House Intelligence Committee, he said, "Oh, we have all this dirt on Donald Trump. It's not public yet, But it'll come out that he was colluding with the Russians. He said that over and over again. He got lots of sound bites. He got campaign contributions. He got thrust to prominence, which is helping him run for the U.S. Senate now. But was it true? No, it was all lies. The Mueller investigation, the Durham investigation, neither of those found any evidence of Russian collusion. In fact, if you read the Durham report, it says that Adam Schiff's office put pressure on the Durham investigative team to try to intimidate them. Well, is that who we want to have in the U.S. Senate? You want to have people who lie to you? And I would say no. And I would say, just like little Frodo, he started out as an innocent, very good person, but power corrupts. And that's why I support term limits. 2 terms for U.S. Senator, 3 terms for Representative, something like that, because we ought to have a citizen-based government, not a professional political class. That's all for today. I'll see you in a couple days after the weekend's over. Thank you.